For the better part of a year, strange accidents have plagued Bandy Bridge. At first, no one paid much attention. A fender bender here, a car skidding off the road there. Things that could easily be chalked up to bad weather or reckless driving. But soon, the accidents grew more severe. Cars flipped. Trucks careened into the guardrails, smashing through them like paper. And more often than not, vehicles plunged off the side, disappearing into the dark waters below. Most of the townspeople blamed it on poor visibility or icy conditions during the colder months. But not me. I knew the truth. I've been living under the bridge for about a year. No home, no family, just me and the river. The world up there doesn't have much use for people like me, but that's all right. I have my own little slice of paradise beneath these rusting beams. And from where I'm sitting, I've seen it all, every last car crash. But believe me, these are not careless accidents. See, the bridge up there is haunted by a hauling truck. I know what you're thinking. I sound crazy, right? It's okay. No one ever listens to me anyway. Why would they? I'm just the homeless guy living under an old bridge. To them, I'm another part of the landscape, like the graffiti or the litter that lines the riverbank, but I swear that truck isn't real. I've seen it vanish with my own eyes. It comes roaring down the bridge late at night, headlights off, engine rumbling like a beast, waking from a long sleep. It runs people off the road. Then, just as suddenly, it vanishes, leaving nothing but shattered metal and broken lives in its wake. The first time I saw it, I thought I'd gone mental. I hadn't had a decent meal in days, and the cold has a way of playing tricks on a man's mind. But after the third or fourth crash, I knew there was something more to it. The truck always appeared the same way, out of nowhere, and it always vanished before the cops showed up. I tried to tell them what I saw, but they always brushed me off. I stopped trying after a while. No point in convincing people who already considered me a rambling fool. But I kept watching. Every night, I sat there in the shadows, waiting for that truck to show itself again. And it always did. But this isn't just a story about a haunted truck. This is about something far worse. It was the day before Halloween when everything changed. The nights were getting colder, and the wind had that bite to it. The kind that makes you pull your jacket tighter even though you know it won't help. The bridge was quiet that evening. Too quiet. I hadn't seen any cars for hours, and for a moment I thought maybe the hauntings had finally stopped. Maybe it was over. That's when I heard the voices. A group of college kids, drunk and laughing, had wandered down to the shore for a bonfire. I could see them from my spot, under the bridge. Their faces lit up by the flickering flames. They were too far away to hear me, but I didn't much feel like talking to them. Anyway, kids like that, they never have time for someone like me. But then, one of the girls let out a scream, high and sharp, like a siren. The others ran over to where she was standing, and soon enough, the screaming turned to panicked shouts. They were all gathered by the edge of the water, pointing at something in the shallows. I stood up and squinted through the darkness. It was hard to make out at first, but as I got closer, I could see it. A body, half submerged in the muddy banks of the river. It must have washed up during the night. The kids were freaking out, some of them already dialing the cops on their phones. That's when I recognized him. It was the dead trucker from the Phantom Hauler. I hadn't seen his face in almost a year, but I'd never forget it. The man was still wearing his work jacket, though it was now covered in rotten muck. His skin was pale, bloated from so many months in the water, but there was no mistaking him. He was the driver of that semi. The same one that crashed on this very bridge last Halloween night. The same man who hadn't been found. Until now. I didn't know what to think at first. Part of me wanted to laugh. Here was the proof I'd been waiting for. Right in front of me, dead as could be, but as I watched the kids panic and the sirens blare in the distance, a strange feeling washed over me. It was like something heavy settling on my chest, like I was forgetting something important. I turned to leave, and then it hit me. I spun back around. The kids were still huddled around the body, oblivious to everything else. "No," I whispered. My heart started pounding. That couldn't be right. I tried to remember exactly what happened that night. I think I had been drinking. I'd always been drinking back then. But driving? No, that wasn't possible. I died here, I whispered to myself. It was me. I stumbled backward, tripping over the rocks as the weight of the words pressed down on me. I knew I was right. I'd been driving that truck. It all came flooding back in a rush. The booze, the swerving lanes, the screech of metal on metal as I hit the guardrail. And then, nothing. Blackness. I'd been dead for a year, and I didn't even know it. The realization knocked the breath out of me. I'd been wandering this bridge, watching the crashes thinking I was some sort of bystander. But all along, it was me. I was the one causing it. The hauler, the semi, it was my truck. And I'd been playing this deadly game of chicken with anyone who dared cross the bridge since the night I died. I did it because I wanted them to find me. The sirens were closer now. The police would be here any minute, and soon enough, they'd fish the trucker's body out of the water. My body. I walked up to the group of kids as they waited for the cops. The girl who'd screamed was crying, and one of the guys was trying to comfort her. I cleared my throat, but none of them looked my way. "Thank you," I said quietly. "Now that you found me, I can stop now." No one responded. They didn't even see me. I saw the girl shudder and lean closer to her friend. Maybe she'd heard me after all. As the police arrived and began cordoning off the area, I took one last look at the river, the place where I'd spent so much time, where I'd watched all those lives slip away. I felt a sense of peace I hadn't felt in, well, forever. The wind picked up, and for a brief moment I saw my reflection in the water, pale and hollow, like a ghost. The kids never spoke of what they saw that night. The newspapers blamed the missing trucker's death on a Halloween prank gone wrong. A tragic accident. But they never explained the other crashes. The disappearing semi, or the ghost who walked away into the night, never to be seen again. As for Bandy Bridge, the accident stopped after that night. No more crashes, no more unexplained accidents, just an empty stretch of road where something terrible had once happened. But every now and then, on quiet nights when the wind is just right, you can still hear the low rumble of an engine echoing through the trees. And if you're unlucky enough to be driving across that bridge, you might just catch a glimpse of my truck in your rearview mirror. But don't blink, because by the time you look again, it'll be gone, just like me.